Hi Noteboard Gamers and welcome back to Noteboard Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's video we are going to be previewing this game right here. It is Homeworld Fleet Command, coming to us from Modiphius, and it hits Kickstarter on the 7th of February. The link will be in the description below. Now, if you've any kind of background in computer gaming, PC gaming at all, then you've probably heard of Homeworld. It's a very, very popular space combat battle type PC game. So what Modiphius have done is they brought an aspect of that to the tabletop arena, and they're calling it Homeworld Fleet Command. And in Homeworld Fleet Command, it is essentially a tactical skirmish game. And you can play from 1 to maybe 4 players, maybe more, because you can actually add, if you've all got different copies of this, you can add other copies to increase the player count. But let's say 1 to 4. And it really is a surprisingly quick space-based combat game where you're going to take one of the factions and you're going to fight against another faction to either destroy them or to complete objectives. And a game for 2 people will take around about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your decision space. So it really, really is very, very, very quick. Now, when we think about kind of some of the greats of space and space games that you have, they're long and involved games. We all know a game of TI4 can take, well, months to complete, not quite, can take many, many hours to complete a game of TI4. Well, what the Modiphius have done with Homeworld Fleet Command is condensed everything down into just the tactical skirmish combat. And let me tell you, it's a lot of fun. It really does play very, very quick. So without much further ado, what I'll do is I'll take you through how the solo mode works, and then I'll talk a little bit about what my thoughts are on Homeworld Fleet Command coming from Modiphius on the 7th of February. The link is in the description below. So, one of the first things that you'll notice when you set up Homeworld Fleet Command from Modiphius is the relatively small table space. I mean, this is as I say, it's a quick fire skirmish game for 1 to 4 players. And if you're only using one set of one box with one map, then this is how big it is. And you have 2 opposing forces. So you have the Kushan forces, which are these guys here, and you also have the Taidan forces there. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Generally, as a solo player, you're going to play the Kushan faction, because they kind of have more objectives to complete in terms of the scenarios, and we'll talk about the scenarios in a second, than Taidan. So you can always be fighting against the Taidan. However, you can switch it around if you want to. Now, so you're going to play the Kushans against the Taidans, and you're going to try and battle to either complete objectives or destroy the completion of the complete enemy force, or prevent you from being destroyed and try and complete objectives, and you're trying to escape from the field, etc., all the while avoiding things like terrain. So we have some asteroid fields on here at the moment, but there are also other terrains that come with it. There's a variety of terrain that goes on the board, and the board is dual-sided as well. And you can see that we have the Kushans in the blue and the Taidans in the red, so you can easily identify their spaceships and their crafts. And each one is a particular fleet. Now, I've set this up as per scenario 4 that's in the book. However, I've just added another few spaceships so you can see a few more on there. And let's have a look at these models to start off with. We can see they're really decent models, and kind of adds to the flavour of the game that they're all in the colours that they need to be. Now, important thing to say, this is a prototype, early copy. It's not the final version, so obviously everything that you see here is subject to change. But here you have the complete kind of feel set out as per the scenario books. You have the round counter down the side. Generally, the Taidans are going to start off on this side, and the Kushans are going to start off on this side. However, it could change around. And each one that you see here, each square, so let me remove these because I just wanted to show you them. They're not actually part of this scenario. You can see within these hexes there are a number of ships in that particular part of the fleet, and that is kind of the entire movement for there. So this is if we look here, we have the interceptors, and they start off with 6 in each hex. So when you move the interceptors, you're going to move all 6. When you fight with the interceptors, you're going to fight with all 6. When you get damage for the interceptors, then you're going to start losing them from them. We'll talk about that in a bit. We also have the heavy corvettes as well, which are these three here. And we also have a mothership here for the Kushans as well. Now over here we have a carrier, and we also have some interceptors, but also, which I'll just whiz the camera here, you can see that the Titans have also got interceptors in reverse as well, in reserve as well, because what you can do in this game is you can call on, at times, at specific times, you can call on ships to come and join you in the battle if the scenario calls for it. Now, in the rulebook, there are 10 scenarios that come with the rulebook, and that may not sound like a lot, and when you start playing them, the kind of first 4 or 5 are introductory scenarios. They're getting you used to gradually introducing more rules for the game. Once you get to scenario 5, you've practically played all of the rules there, and you can then play through the rest of the scenarios, or you can reintroduce those rules into earlier scenarios, or you can actually make your own scenarios up, which I think is an absolute masterstroke, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what the community does with Homeworld Fleet Command in terms of making their own scenarios up. And there's a specific section within the rulebook itself all about designing scenarios. So yeah, I think it's absolutely wonderful. It gives you some ideas for setup zones, for maps, etc. A victory calculator, what you should have in terms of what needs to go on there. But if you whiz through all the 10 scenarios, and you're probably not going to, then you could just make up your own scenarios, combine map boards together, combine fleets together, play co-op, 2 blue factions against 2 red factions, and really, really go for it. And I think that's an absolute masterstroke by Modiphius on doing that. So anyway, back to the game itself then. So once you've got the scenario set up for the solo game, and the book does take you through the various scenarios that you go, and here you see this is set up for Fool's Gold, which is scenario 4. You can play any of them. It also tells you which ships to bring out as well. So once you've got your scenario set up, the next thing you need to do is pull your hand of cards together, and these are the command cards, and these are basically the engine of the game. Now, they have 2 functions, if you like. The first function is the back of the card. You can play the back of the command card at any point, as long as you have them in your hand, for one of the 4 basic actions. And those 4 basic actions are to move, to attack, to reinforce, which means to bring ships back onto the field, etc., or to harvest. So if you're next to, for example, these asteroid fields, and you harvest there, in this particular game you've got to mine so many stars from these asteroid fields, so you can flip that over and see what you can get from there. So harvest is a way of kind of harnessing resources from adjacent fields. So there are 4 basic actions you can use by using the back of your command card. But you see, the front of every command card also has special actions as well. And they also have interrupts. So some of these special actions, you may want to play your command card for a particular basic action, move, attack, reinforce or harvest, or you may want to play a command card for what's on the special action. Completely up to you. There are also these interrupt cards as well, and these can be pretty powerful because you can play them sometimes on your turn, sometimes on the opposing player's turn. So let's have a look here. Play at any time to remove 1 focus fire token or restore 1 destroyed fighter. So focus fire token effectively reduces your shields, etc. So you can play that at any time. These interrupt cards, many and varied. For example, you can interrupt an enemy attack with this card here, so you hold them in reserve. But you can see, so the green ones are the interrupt cards, and then the bluish ones are the special actions. But you don't have to use them, as I say. You can use the back of the cards that are in your hand and perform one of the 4 basic moves. And when you start with a certain number of cards. And what determines that number of cards? Well, as you can see, on each of my cards, I've got my faction card, I've got these cards, and then these various leader cards down here. There is also a kind of hand here, so 3 cards with a number on it. The total of that gives me my hand of cards that I can play while these cards are in play. So I can get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 command cards, and that is my hand size. But how many can I play? Well, I can play 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So my hand size of 8, I can play 5 cards. And that really kind of works. It's a good way of keeping track on what cards you can get. And then, of course, the round finishes after you've played that, and then you can play more the new round starts, you redraw your hand size, etc., and you play again. And it's a really good visual way of understanding how many cards you get. Obviously, the bigger your hand is, the more tactics and strategy you can build up as well. So each scenario, whether you're playing solo or playing multiplayer, has a scenario page, and it tells you how many rounds it is. So if we look here at scenario 4, the round limit is 10. So we can see the round counter at the top of the board down there. That means, obviously, I get to go through 10 rounds here, activating each of my ships in each round, as long as they're still alive. And it tells me kind of what new rules are on there, and it also gives you objectives as well. So my objectives in scenario 4 are to harvest 8 stars worth of resources from the asteroid fields within 10 rounds. Now, under these asteroid fields here, there's a mixed number of stars. There we go. You can see that one's got number 2 on it, and I've got to try and harvest them from there. That gives me kind of these 2 medals. Number 1, the mothership must survive. Once it has collected 8 stars, it may move to any map edge and spend 1 movement point to exit the map, removing it from play and completing its objective. So that's my way of what I've got to do to win it as the Kushan. Now the Taidan down here, they have objectives, but there are 2 ways to play as solo. Okay, so the first thing they can do is they can complete their objectives here. And they need to destroy the mothership, so I cannot harvest asteroid fields, so they could be gunning for me here. Or they need to prevent the mothership from harvesting 8 stars worth of resources. So as the AI, you can choose to play 2 ways. You can choose to play the AI to try and complete the objectives, and that requires just you to kind of do a little bit of thinking on their behalf, or you can go out all-out assault and have them just try and destroy every one of my ships. And you can mix and match how you want to play that on various scenarios, or you can choose to play it one way on one scenario and then play the same scenario a different way and just see how the battle shapes up. So they can go gunning for all the objectives, making you potentially sometimes have to make some of their choices for them in the best tactical way, or they gun for you and try and destroy your ships, and that's really, really, really good. So we know what our objectives are. I've got to try and harvest 8 from here, so I have to use a harvest action. I've drawn my hand of command cards. Now, the solo doesn't draw command cards at this stage. We draw it on their turn. The next thing we're going to do is roll for initiative. So these are the dice. Now, these dice will be coloured in the final version of the game. They're all white at the moment. These dice do a number of things, but the first thing we're going to do is roll for initiative to find out goes first. So highest number goes first. 4 for me. 6 for the AI. So in this case, the AI would go first, but let's presume I drew the first one. Now, remember, so the next part up on this, so we've drawn command cards in this round, we've rolled for initiatives, we now get to play command cards, and then we get to clean up. So we look down here, and I have a number of units on the field, and you can see each one is identified. The mothership is identified by this A here, and an A there as well. We have the interceptors identified by this A, and this A up here, and we have the heavy corvettes identified by A there, and the scout group by B there. And you see that's really important, that you'll notice some of the, they're called A's, etc., but they have different diagrams on them to completely kind of tell you exactly exactly what ships you need to be moving, because when you've moved your ship, you're going to flip both of those. When you've activated it, should I say, not moved it, activated it, you're going to flip both of those over, and you know it's actually moved for that turn. So, on my go, I could play any of these cards. Didn't get any interrupt cards here. And these are all kind of, you've got to look through them, and we have target engines. I'm not in any kind of shape here to try and do that. So maybe I want to use mine to start moving my ships around here and start kind of trying to intercept stuff. So maybe I'll play a card for a basic action. So in fact, that's what we'll do. And remember, the basic actions are that I can move, I can attack, I can reinforce, or I can harvest. Okay, so let's do a move action just to show you what happens. So I'll spend this card. That card's going to go there, and we're going to move my interceptors up to their move value on here. So if you look here, the interceptors here, they can move up to 3, so I'll move that entire battalion 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go over there and try and prevent these guys from coming in and starting to damage me. So move all of those there. I say, don't forget, these are not the finished versions. Close that, close that. That's my interceptor group moved just there. So we're already starting to move up into a position where I'm going to get slightly aggressive, and you can see I flip those over. And that's my turn done. And now it's the AI's turn. So whereas with my turn is dictated by the hand size that's on all my cards and also the number of cards I can play. The AI works differently. You see, the AI is going to take a turn until each of its units has been activated, so it gets a bit of a leg up on you. You could have a situation where, because some of your ships have been destroyed, you don't have enough turns to activate each and every ship, so the AI gets that bit of a leg up on you. So how does the AI's turn work? Well, what happens is they're going to draw a card from the action deck. And if the card is what's called an interrupt card, then they're going to bank that, and they can bank a certain number depending on what cards they got on the table. But if it's a special orders card, then there's a table what they do is they reference that, and that will tell them what they're going to do. So there we go. First one is an interrupt attack. So they're going to bank this card, and they're going to play it at a tactically advantageous time for them. So if I start to attack them, they're going to play this interrupt card, and one allied unit can deflect at any time, can interrupt an attack at any time during an enemy unit's move, lightning move, or reinforced stage. This attack must target the enemy unit that was activated. So if I'm attacking them, they can attack me first, which is really, really powerful. So they're going to bank that for the time being. Here we go. Right. So what's going to happen here is each of these cards has got a name on it. Now, in the book, there is a table, and it tells you what the AI does for each of these cards. So it tells you what the card name is. There is a default order at the top, and I'll come on to that in a second. The unit priority, so which unit is going to be activated. The target, what it's going to target against me, and then the actual order of what's going to happen, so what they're going to do. So sometimes negate what's on here. You're looking at this here. It may tell you to reference the card, but that's fine, but you follow this table to see what it wants to do. So weapons to maximum, where are we? Down here. So we're going to activate one of their strong ships. Now, it's difficult to see here, but it gives you the, in order, left to right, what to do. And I know that their carrier, this one here, is this first one just here. So weapons to maximum, they're going to move one of them towards my strongest one. So my strongest is obviously, let's see, it's my scout group, which is over there, but so they're going to move towards there. And we look at this, and it can move up to 2 spaces. Yeah, can't really do that with this, because what it would do on weapons to maximum is, if it was close, it would follow as written, it would move 2 and then attack. So what it's going to do is it's then going to move, because it can't carry out that order, because I'm too far away, it's then going to carry out go back to its default order, which is going to say, move to within range and then attack. So we can see the ship up at the top there. This is the carrier ship. We look at the card, it says it's a super capital ship, okay? And let's just go to these icons here. First of all, that's its attack, what you have to roll to attack it. So when you're rolling your dice, you have to get more than a 5. So a 5 or a 6 will issue damage to it. But here we have its armor, and it's got a 3 armor. That you can kind of degrade its armor by getting focus fire tokens on it. Here we have how far it's moved. Here we have its ramming ability, and that's really cool because you can ram other ships. And here we have its crew as well. Now, not every card is as complex as that. For example, if we look at the interceptor, we can see the interceptor has got, again, you've got to hit a 5. It's got no armor. It can move 3 and ram 1. It has no crew on there. So yeah, and then we look down here, and it tells us what kind of weapons. And it's got hull defense, guns, but their range here, we can see this is the range here, is just 1. It's pretty much adjacent fire. It does have a turret which allows 270, I think, which doesn't allow you to fire behind you, but there is something that allows you to fire 360 as well. And it does also have defensive fire here as well. It tells you all the various abilities. Can't really do much. What we can do is we can move 2. So even when we go to that default order, if you remember the default order, it's going to move and engage. It's not really in a position to do so. Now, look at the way it's facing, because this is really important. See, the ship has to move in the way that it's facing. You can make a free turn at the end of your go to wherever you want to within that. But what you can't do is, this has got forward-facing lasers, has to be facing in the direction of where I'm going to shoot. So you have to be facing, this tactical placement is really important. So we look here, it can move 2, so maybe we're going to go towards this here, 1, 2, and it's there. It's still outside range, so it hasn't quite got the ability to attack. And that is its first go done. So we're going to flip that token over, move that token. That's how easy the AI works. What about combat, I ask? Well, I've just positioned a couple of things on here so we can initiate some combat. It's back round to my turn. Let's assume that the interceptor hasn't been activated just yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a command card, and we're going to play this card here, which is weapons to maximum, just like what the AI played against us, but we get to do these actions here. So first of all, I get to move. And we look at my interceptors, and they can move up to 3, and then they can fire, but they're only adjacent, so it's kind of adjacent fire, so they have to be next to them. I'm going to fire on this group here, so we're going to go 1, 2, let's move down there, just stay out of the way of that, of that big ship up there. And there we go, everything's moved next, so now we can initiate combat. So how does combat work? It's dice based. What we're going to do is have a look on the card, and it tells you how many dice you're going to roll per ship that's on there. So again, we look at the interceptor card, and we look here. It tells me I can roll 1 dice per ship. There's 6 ships in my fleet there. And it gives you the symbol of the particular group that got there at a range of 1, and it's close quarters fire. So I have to be adjacent, but close quarters fire means that if I defeat these ships here, then I can move into their area. So I know it's 1 per ship. I have 6 ships. Do I have any additional abilities? Well, here we go. I can play this, and it says this unit gets +1 on close quarter actions. That means I get to roll 7 dice against them. However, we have this here. So the AI has got this interrupt action here, and it says the allied unit can interrupt attack at any time during an enemy's unit's move, lightning move, or harvest. Well, I moved to there, so they're going to attack me now. They're going to activate this card now. So you have to be mindful of what they've got, and there is a priority of what the AI does, and you must target the enemy unit that's activated. So they're going to attack me first, which is not great, is it? Let's face it. It's not really what I wanted. So we look at their interceptor, and it's going to be exactly the same here. So they have 1 per ship at a range of 1, close quarters attack, rapid fire 1. When attacking my type of ship, this unit can reroll 1 failure. It doesn't have a special action like that. It's just an attack, so that doesn't matter there. And evasive, reroll enemy success. So that's when I fire against them. I look at me, and I should have more or less the same thing here. So yes, I can reroll 1 success against me. So they're going to come at me with 6. I've got no armor, so I don't get to discount the number of there. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus, they have a wing commander and their interceptors here, and they get +2. So they're going to roll 8 against me. This is not good. And remember, they've got to get a 5 or more to damage me. So here we go. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 4 5s, which is not great. I do have an evasive roll here. So it allows me to re-roll 1 of their successes. So let's re-roll that. It's a 3. So they've damaged me for 3. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to lose 3 of my ships already, which is not great. So they're going to come off the board. And now I continue my attack. They've used that interrupt action against me, and now I get to do my attack. However, I now only have 3 ships in my group. So we go back to the card. It says I get 1 dice roll per ship in my group at a range of 1, close quarters. They haven't defeated me, so they can't overrun me. So I get to roll 3. They could have re-rolled a failure, actually. Yeah, so they could have re-rolled a failure. So let's see, a failure was still a failure there. But I don't have I do have this ability. So this is a special attack ability here, and it allows me to re-roll 1 additional failure. So I can re-roll 2 failures. And I know that I've got 1, 2, 3, plus my commander ability. My squadron leader ability. So that's 4 dice. I can re-roll 2 failures. They can re-roll 1 evasive action for me. Let's see. Oh, I only need to re-roll one failure because I only got one failure. That's there. So maximum I can hit them for is 3. However, they've got evasive action. They get to re-roll 1 success, and they've done that. So I only defeat 2 of their guys. That's kind of how combat works. Now, all the ships have different modifiers on there. You have defensive attack. You have focused fire tokens, which are these, which kind of get the armor down on ships, so it gets you into a position where you can actually defeat some of the ships that have got armor. There is reinforce, so you can bring ships back onto the map itself. There's a harvest action. There's all of the special abilities actions, and the more you play it, the more rules you introduce, the more involved you get in the game. And before you know it, you've got this full-on kind of skirmish happening, this really rapid fire, quick skirmish happening. That is roughly how you play the solo of Homeworld Fleet Command from Modiphius. So that was a really kind of rapid run through on some of the mechanisms within Homeworld Fleet Command, coming to you from Modiphius, link in the description below, and certainly how the solo AI works. Look, there are a lot more nuances than this. Obviously, I have not even talked about some of the rules that happen in the game. Things like ramming, things like boarding, things like reinforcing or harvesting. So many other actions come into play. You've got ranged attacks, you've got close quarter attacks. If you win against with a close quarter attack, you win against another unit, you kill them all, you can overrun and move into their space. You can board other ships, you can commandeer other ships for other players. It becomes really, really exciting. And the rulebook is set up in such a way that it takes you through each of these scenarios, gradually introducing more and more rules to you, which is a really good way of learning how to play the game. And as I say, you've then got that modularity effect where you can combine boards and potentially increase the player count. And even better, you've got the scenario creator, which I think is just a really, really good thing. And I think that is where the longevity in this game is going to shine. People are really going to start creating their own community, or the community is going to start creating their own scenarios and challenging each other and expanding the board. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the community does with the game. So as I say, everything here is kind of still early stages, not the final version by any stretch of the imagination. And certainly from a rulebook perspective, I would say that the rulebook probably just needs another pass through it. At the moment, some of it is just a little bit not quite there in terms of clarity, but you can work through it, but it does require some clarity. Now, from a solo perspective, as I say, depending on how you play, you may have to make some decisions for the AI. You've always got to think in their best interest, what is tactically better for the AI. I think when you've got so many moving parts like this, it's, without coming up with a really complex AI, you're not going to get something that covers every eventuality. So you're definitely not playing two-handed, but what you are doing is doing something that works out better for them and worse for you in some cases. In other cases, pretty straightforward what the AI does, and it's going to either come at you and try and destroy all your ships, or it's going to go for the objectives where there's a joint objective, and it's going to try and get those objectives and complete what they need to do before you. So I like this, really like the kind of dual use ability of these command cards. As I say, play them for the back and do one of the 4 basic actions: the move, the attack, the reinforce, the harvest, or play them for the front and use the special action, or even the interrupt actions on there. And let me tell you, the more the AI goes through that deck and gets some of these interrupt actions, the more difficult it becomes. It becomes, you think you've worked it all out, and then suddenly you think, yeah, they're going to interrupt that. As soon as I try that, they're going to interrupt that attack, or they're going to do X, Y, or Z. And it becomes difficult trying, there's not a straight line to victory. Your strategy is going to move around as the AI progresses and develops over time. And sometimes early game, you think, I've got this in the bag. And then by mid-game you're thinking, yeah, this really hasn't gone how I wanted it to. I may have made a bad decision here, but the AI drew this card and that allowed them to do X, Y, or Z. So yeah, it's got I think the AI, say, despite having some of it left up to you, does work particularly well, and it can create these really engaging matches. So I hope you enjoyed that look through Homeworld Fleet Command coming from Modiphius Games on the 7th of February. The link will be in the description below. I've had a lot of fun with this. You know, it's not going to be for everybody, but it is quick. And as I say, it's going to be for people who want a fast action, fast-paced space game without having diplomacy, without having negotiation, without having to resource manage, without having to, you know, explore, expand, etc. All you're doing here is full-on combat. And when it works really, really well, and it can be a really pleasing way to spend 30, 40 minutes, quick to set up, relatively quick to play, and you either go away, you know, hailing victory, or with your tail well and truly between your legs as you've been defeated by the AI. So yeah, do check it out if it looks of interest to you. Go and check it out. Go and check the campaign out. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey. Thank you to Modiphius for sending me through this early preview copy of Homeworld Fleet Command. Go and follow the campaign if it looks good fun for you. My name's Mark. This is Not Board Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out our other videos. And one final thought. If you can't find anyone else to play with, there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye-bye.